which is most generous with her time, but she will be aware that today over 600 illegal migrants have entered this country. They could get up to all sorts of mischief, commit crimes and maybe even acts of terrorism. So does she agree with me that these young men crossing the Channel should be immediately detained and deported along with the member for Islington?
Minister.
Well, I certainly hope that that kind of comment might be a joke, but I actually wonder whether that kind of arbitrary treatment of people who are in this country, if we came out of the ECHR as he wants, would become the norm for reform. We are a law-abiding government. The Right Honourable Member for Islington has a complete right to his opinions and a complete right to express them from whatever side of the House that he sits, and I've personally worked with him and have a great deal of respect for him. So I'm quite shocked that the Honourable Gentleman thinks that that's an appropriate thing to say in this place. Now, at committee stage, yes.
Thank you. I thank the Minister for giving way, and on a slightly more constructive point. Does the Minister agree that calls for the process to allow asylum seekers to work after they've been in the country for 3 months would allow them to integrate more closely with their communities, would allow them to earn money to support themselves? Such a measure to change it from 12 months to 3 months would make a massive difference to asylum seekers and reduce the bill for hotels and actually allow them to contribute to the community they want to be a part of.
Well, we're going to come to these debates when we get on to debating the new clauses that the Honourable Gentleman is talking about, but we have been clear on this side of the House that the balance between respecting the work visas, which people have to apply to if they're coming to work here, and then allowing, I will in a minute, and then allowing asylum seekers who haven't applied for work to come and work at that sort of length, would risk undermining the system. We have a disagreement about timing. The answer to the Honourable Gentleman's question is that at the moment you can work if you're an asylum seeker and your case hasn't been heard after 12 months if it's through no fault of your own. So we're talking about time here, but I think the balance between not undermining our work visa system and having a pull factor for more people to come across illegally is the one that we're talking about here. I give way to the Right Honourable Gentleman.
The Minister for giving way. I thank the Minister for giving way and thank her for the remarks she just made. Would she accept that people that make an incredibly dangerous journey and are exploited in doing so are often totally desperate, are victims of human rights abuse and war, have been through horrendous journeys to get there, and one day they'll find somewhere to live where they'll be able to live their lives and make a contribution to our society? Don't we as a world need to look at the plight of refugees as a whole and do much more about trying to bring an end to the conditions that force people to seek those desperate journeys in the first place?
I agree with the Right Honourable Gentleman that we have to always think about the humanity involved in here and not try to label everybody who comes into our country when they're claiming asylum as some kind of threat or even worse as a terrorist, something that's just been said from the benches opposite. We have to treat every case on its merits and we have to treat every person as an individual human being, but we also have to recognise, and the Right Honourable Gentleman needs to recognise this too, that not everybody who comes across in a boat is the kind of person he describes. Some of them are actually the people running the people smuggling gangs. So there's a variety of humanity that comes across on the boats, like there's a variety of humanity that one can discover if one comes across a pool of human beings everywhere. Now, I wish to get on with actually moving the amendments, but because I served with him on the ISA, I'm going to give way to the Right Honourable.
I'm grateful to the Right Honourable Lady for giving way. Isn't the truth of the matter that showing humanity means recognising, as she's implied, that some of the people are coming, perfectly understandably, for entirely economic reasons? If you thought you could get a better deal in Britain for you and your family, you turn up and say you were claiming asylum on all kinds of grounds. And that's the real truth of it. The system is being gamed, and it has to stop being gamed.
Minister.
Yes, in some circumstances, no in others, because some people who come over are genuine asylum seekers, and even under the Right Honourable Gentleman's government, when he was indeed in the Home Office too, they were granted asylum. So, as always, there are many, many different circumstances, and each one has to be looked at and judged on its merits. I'm now going to get on. I'm sorry, I need to get on because we don't have a lot of time, and I think I've been generous. The Government has tabled further amendments, which I now wish to turn to strengthen the current bill. Firstly, new clause 5, which extends right-to-work checks. Preventing illegal working forms a critical part of the Government's plan to strengthen the immigration system, restoring tough enforcement of the rules, undermining the proposition sold by unscrupulous criminal gangs that individuals can work in the UK. In reality, such work is illegal and puts individuals into a vulnerable position at risk of exploitation. Legitimate businesses are undercut and the wages of lawful workers are negatively impacted, with links to other labour market abuse, such as tax evasion, breach of the national minimum wage and exploitative working conditions. Those working illegally in the UK are exploiting a loophole in the existing right-to-work scheme, whereby only those organisations who engage individuals under a contract of employment are required to carry out right-to-work checks. Government New Clause 5 means that those who engage individuals to work as casual or temporary workers under a workers' contract, or individual subcontractors and online matching services that provide details of service providers to carry out work or services for potential clients or customers for remuneration will be legally required to check a person's right to work. Individuals who are self-employed in the traditional sense and who contract directly with clients will not be in scope of New Clause 5, ensuring that a member of the public directly engaging a tradesperson or business will not have to carry out a right-to-work check. This is a long overdue extension of right-to-work checks to include sectors which were previously out of scope and crack down on the unscrupulous exploitation of employment law loopholes. I note the amendments for the Honourable Member for Leeds Central and Headingley and the Honourable Member for Hazel Grove relating to the Government's policy on the right to work for asylum seekers, but it's important, as I said earlier, to distinguish those who need protection and those seeking to come here from work. Also that while pull factors for the UK are complex, the perception of easy access to the labour market is among the reasons why people take dangerous journeys to the UK. I now move to a government new clauses 6 and 7. Firstly, asylum appeals in the first-tier tribunal of the Immigration and Asylum Chamber currently take an average of nearly 50 weeks, according to the latest published statistics, and that is because of the huge backlogs that we inherited when we came into government. Government New Clause 6 and 7 seek to set a 24-week statutory timeframe requiring the first-tier tribunal of the Immigration and Asylum Chamber to decide both supported accommodation cases and non-detained foreign national offenders within 24 weeks from the date the appeal is lodged, as far as is reasonably practicable. Madam Deputy Speaker, there are no easy or perfect choices here, but the Government has to take action, and we're focusing in the first instance on measures which will allow us to get people out of costly hotels and also facilitate the swift deportation of non-detained foreign national offenders where it's in the public interest to deport these individuals. Whilst implementing the 24-week timeframe for supported asylum appeals and appeals from non-detained foreign national offenders, it's our expectation the judiciary will continue to prioritise appeals lodged by detained foreign national offenders and the most vulnerable. We're working at pace in the Home Office and with the Ministry of Justice and His Majesty's Courts and Tribunal Service to look at all possible improvements to the end-to-end immigration and appeals system and improve the speed and efficiency of decision-making and appeals while continuing to guarantee access to justice. We will set out further reforms to the asylum system later this summer.
The Minister will know that I chair the APPG for freedom of religious belief, and one of the important things for us is those of a Christian faith and other faiths who come here, and government has been incredibly generous to given the